Frank Bouchard reminds us that innovation doesn't have to be about electronics. It's really about having a purpose and finding a way of making things better. Mr. Bouchard is the innovator of Wipe Book that gives creators and learners erasability. He's the recipient of the $10,000 Manning Innovation Award, and he'll talk about the development of his innovation and the role crowdfunding had in getting it off the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Frank Bouchard.
Great. So thanks, everybody, for being here today. This is such a great opportunity to talk about our innovation. So first off, what is the Wipe Book? Think of a paper notebook that has glossy pages that can be wiped clean like a regular whiteboard. Now, a lot of people say, why didn't I think of that? It seems like it's such a simple idea. And I asked them the same question, why didn't you think of that? But today, I'll kind of go through exactly how our idea kind of came to be. So 15 years ago, when I was in high school, the internet was really slow. YouTube didn't exist, but I was one of those kids that was stuck on the internet. And because the internet was really slow, there were huge communities of individuals online that did animation. So I got really, really interested in animation. And when you do animation, you essentially draw every single line, and every single line has to be perfect. So you have your finger permanently glued to the Control-Z button on your keyboard. So if you do a little mistake, you erase it. If you do a little mistake, you erase it. So when I got into university and I decided to go into electrical engineering like my dad did, I realized you have to do a lot of math. And when you do a lot of math, and I'm not so good at math, you make a lot of mistakes. And so it was second nature for me to always erase. But on a paper medium, when you're doing assignments, it's not always possible. You can use a pencil, but it doesn't erase that great. So I decided, there's got to be a better way. And I still remember to this day, my dad used to have VHS tapes where he'd make these little labels that were wipeable. And I said to myself, that would be really useful in a notebook format. So that was my first prototype, literally taped together these overhead transparencies on these lined paper sheets. And I was going class to class writing on this weird plastic notebook. And people thought it was quirky and weird, and they would look at me with kind of weird eyes saying, why don't you use a regular paper notebook? But erasability was so important for me. And I don't think other people realized that because I did have that background where I was used to erasing so much. But then during my master's, I had the chance to take an entrepreneurship course. And there we had to validate a very simple idea. And the prof had asked everybody to kind of present their ideas in front of the class. And I presented my prototype that I had in my class. And we were actually the reject group. Everybody went to the menopause blanket. That seemed like the most innovative idea in the world. And we were kind of like the reject group in the corner. But lo and behold, we said, we'll validate our idea. And the premise was that, most people still prefer writing on paper. But tablets exist, but there's something about the tangible physical medium that is just so great. And being able to erase that medium is really, really important. So can we come up with a solution to this problem? So we tried crowdfunding at first through the course, and it failed miserably. We took entire weeks to film these videos and all these elements, and we posted it online. We tried to raise $10,000, and it really just didn't work out. But we said, we're going to keep at it, and we gave ourselves like 6 months to really validate whether or not the idea would actually work out. So a month before the end, Kickstarter had just become available in Canada. So I said, let's give it one last shot. Let's just take all the same content, put it online, lower our goal, make it $4,000. We could probably, let's try to raise $4,000 in 30 days. I still remember that morning. I'm a perfectionist, trying to work the page out, and I posted online. And then I had to go teach a workshop to some kids on how to 3D print things, and then my phone just starts vibrating. Who's calling me here? And I check all these notifications, $50, $25, $100. So my eyes start going berserk, right? And so by the end of that day, we raised our full $4,000 goal. And after 30 days, we actually raised almost $500,000. So we were in shock. This was class project turned to reality. We had to kick this thing into full gear. We had done some really stupid stuff. We only had one prototype. We didn't know how to manufacture this thing on a mass scale. We had promised $5 shipping anywhere around the world, so that was, a big mistake. So you make a lot of these mistakes, but it ended up working out, and it was a great experience. Had a lot of great media coverage on it. And then everybody said, you really have to go and pitch to Dragon's Den. That's what you have to do. So we said, okay, we have a pretty good story. We'll go on Dragon's Den. So we went on Dragon's Den, and it's really weird. If you go on Dragon's Den, they make you watch reruns of Dragon's Den episodes for like 2 hours before you go on set just to psych out. So that's nerve-wracking. And then they ask you, go on set and you see all the cameras and the lighting and stuff like that, and you say, okay, this is bad. If I screw this up, they're going to take the worst bits and they're just going to air it online. But it worked out, and we did end up getting an offer from Arlene Dickinson, which was a great experience. But after that, we kind of said, we have to set up the company. It was such a short time frame. We got all our patents. My co-founder, Toby, he works in intellectual property. He got that right away. But one thing that we totally neglected was, our own internal documents within the company. We didn't have general bylaws or a shareholder agreement. And that was really dangerous because, there was no, document that says who's allowed to have what in the company if it is a big success. And little did we know, one of our partners wasn't getting along with us. He wanted out as soon as we got the big valuation. And so he wanted cash up front, his portion of the company. And so we had to let him go. We offered him a portion. And then 6 months later, he ended up suing us. And it was a year of nightmare. But you go through those experiences and you realize, that's your worst fear scenario for a startup. But once you survive that, you feel like you're invincible, right? So after that happened, we ended up, working with Staples and working with Walmart into retail. And that seems all really, really great and amazing. But even retail is really tough. It seems really awesome at the surface, but, for example, for Walmart, you see those books on the shelves. That's what you think it's going to look like, and that's what actually happens in reality. So, the process of entrepreneurship is still a really exciting one, but a challenging one as well. So a few, lessons to kind of finish off here. One thing that I've learned is you really have to be comfortable with discomfort. You have to love to learn new things, because when you're thrown into the world of entrepreneurship, you're going to be doing all kinds of different things that you never would have done before in your specific field of expertise. Trust is really important, and trust in your gut is really important. If there's something that's, off about a partner or, a manufacturer or supplier, trust your gut, explore that a little bit further. It's really, really hard and scary, but it can be a lot of fun, just like a roller coaster ride, right? So that's one of the things that entrepreneurs, love. They love that sense of, the ups and the downs. So in the words of Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus, if you remember that show, take chances, get messy, and make mistakes, because you never know. Not many mistakes can't be wiped clean, right? So thanks a lot.